About the issue of race. In my barbershop, we do have blacks and whites that attend. We have Asians. We have different people from different cultural backgrounds. So they do come through, and we get a chance and opportunity to talk to these people and find out what they feel about race relations. And you'd be surprised in the minutes that you're cutting hair, about 20 minutes or so, the things that you can gather that are unheard and not talked about normally, that you will find that basically people are the same.
Now,
we're all looking for the same things.
Initially, I was surprised. I'm not anymore. and Kevin will tell you as well. And you go in there and sit down in the chair in Woodard's barber shop and be amazed at some of the conversations that came up.
Oh,
and that's why when you first started talking about doing a project there, initially it was, oh, okay, you're going to film a movie in the barbershop.
Right.
And then you started thinking about all the things that, that were discussed.
Right.
Is that what led you to wanting to get involved in this, this type of project?
Bill. Absolutely. You know, the first project was Black and White Pizza. And it's a documentary about race relations, a discussion between three people, myself, Ron Strobel, and Tia Abdul-Malik. Well, in any event, when Ron and I were actually doing Black and White Pizza, we rode by Woody's shop, and Ron looked at the shop, you know, the outside and everything, and he said, "Wow," he said, "that looks like that's an interesting place." He said, "Is that a barbershop?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's actually my friend Woody," and I said, "Ron, Woody would be an excellent person to do a piece on," and that's kind of what sort of kick-started it. As a result, you know, Ron called up Woody and set up a meeting and everything, and the three of us, we decided that, you know, we would do this kind of documentary exploring race relations, and it was very interesting. Woody's a very interesting person, as you know. There's not a subject that Woody can't speak on, you know. This guy talks about anything from architecture to science to race to women to men to
never missing a beat on your haircut.
exactly.
Never stops while going through this
I don't know how he does
discussion.
You know, but as a result, Barbershop Talk was born out of that discussion, and it's a very revealing piece. You know, there were some things I don't necessarily agree with.
And we'll get into those as
but
well.
Okay.
Now, Woody, for the years that I've known you, and Kevin was talking about that, everything from writing poetry, you had a comic that you were working on for a while. I remember times when I had been in the shop following I'm lost for words all of a sudden.
You're
following
talking
appearances I made on television shows and things, and you had written letters and been invited to some of the shows as well. Was this something you always wanted to do?
You know what it is, Bill? I wrote a poem called "What Kind of Tool Am I?" And that was a question that most people ask themselves after they become conscious of the fact that they're here for a purpose. In the barbershop, you get an opportunity to hear people from different cultural groups, again, different perspectives, but the most important thing is the mind of individual people. Everybody's mind, everybody's person is very important. If you were born into the world, you have a purpose. Now, what is your purpose? That's your job. Finding out what your purpose is as an individual and a person that is created in the image of God. So once you find that concept, you will find yourself doing a lot of things. We're all searching. I see myself by appreciating human beings. I can look at a person and appreciate the fact that that person's my brother, regardless of their race, creed, or color, if that person is a person that is thinking about the betterment of people. I always say that the bad thing about good people is that they're segregated. That's the biggest problem about good people. There are good people in every race. There are good people all around the world. There's only two forces, one good and one evil. Basically, we have to learn that the concept of that is controlling the energy that's within ourselves. Energy is energy is energy. Where we direct it is up to us.
Now, in looking at that, and I pointed out all the different things that you've done, do you view that as you finding your way to best communicate your thoughts, be it with somebody who's in the chair or a poem or a comic or a television appearance?
Yeah. I found that, again, my energy comes from people. Talking with people and drawing from them. Like, for instance, watching you. Your development is amazing. I've seen the things that you've done through the years of being a very young man and developing into a fine man who has done things on TV. I watch how you handle yourself on these shows and programs. I'm very proud. And to see this not just with yourself, but also to see this with other young men who have come to my shop as young guys. Now they're fathers themselves and bringing their children in. That gives you a very good feeling, and it helps you grow as well.
Now, Kevin, I know that you've been making films for
Right.
several years
Right.
now, making another one, filming videos now, and we have to make sure we give out that information
Okay,
as
sure.
well. And when we've had the opportunity to discuss different things, a race relations topic
Right.
movie has been something that you've been very interested in doing for a long time. Have touched on some of them in some
Right.
of your other films,
Right.
but that straight line panel discussion type
Exactly.
thing
Exactly.
is something that you were very interested in. Is that why you wanted to get involved with this, and why you're going to follow up to that in
Absolutely.
future projects?
Yeah, Bill, good point. I'm glad you raised that because the what we want to do is we want to do a series of these, shall we say, barbershop talk films that are going to deal with race relations and deal with it from different aspects. We are planning on doing a follow-up called Barbershop Talk in Black and White, which is basically going to be the next step up from Barbershop Talk, the original one. And in this new one, it's going to be a panel discussion. I'm so happy, Bill, that you've agreed to moderate the discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, you got me in a tough situation. You know what? That should be very interesting.
Yeah.
And that's why I was interested in being involved with
Right.
that, to see if some
be-
things can be
because
resolved.
Bill, the thing is that we need to have a real serious dialogue about race. Not this phony thing that I'm seeing a lot of different places, but we need to have a real open and honest and brutal kind of discussion. And and the reality is that, granted, I'm sure that everyone on the panel is not going to agree, but I think if we can at least at least deal with some real issues, man. I think it's worth it.
We'll agree to disagree, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I think one of the nicest things that were born was the fact that Kevin is a filmmaker. And out of his filmmaking, he was chosen, I believe, or picked out of a group by the gentleman, Mr. Ron Strobel, who's also involved here. The fact that Ron was saying, hey, well, look, I got a black filmmaker. These guys were discussing some issues about race. And some of the things that Ron was ignorant to were unbelievable. We had a big screening at the International House, and that place was jammed. While the lady watched Barbershop Talk, and this is a white lady, she started crying in the midst of the film being played. Now, I was interested in finding out why she was crying, but she was saddened. Also, her husband wanted to say some things to my brother, but the point was that these people were saddened. They didn't know me from Adam, but again, good people are good people. This person was a good person. She realized what the situation. I don't want to tell exactly what the whole film is all about because we don't want to spoil it. But when the film is viewed on WHYY, the people hopefully will be able to appreciate that from different perspectives. And again, it breaks through cultural it breaks through cultural backgrounds, and it gets right to the core of human beings. That's where we got to go with this Barbershop Talk. Our next film must directly direct itself toward the core of the human being. And that's what we're interested in, and hopefully with our moderator, Mr. Bill Anderson, will be able to do that very well.
Just put it all on me, right?
Well, really, I can't think of a better person to do it, Bill, because you have this ability to be able to communicate with people and with all kinds of people, whether it be white, black, Asian, or whatever, and you have this communication that's very soothing, and at the same time you're able to get your points across, and at the same time you're able to make people feel good about themselves, and that's what we want. We want people on the panel to feel comfortable to express whatever it is that's on their mind, so we can have a real discussion.
I want to take a step back because we started talking about the two films, Black and White Pizza and Barbershop Talk, the first one,
Right.
And we haven't really given much of a background, and people didn't see the initial screening. It will be on television.
Yes.
When?
It will be on actually Cable 54 sometime in July.
Okay.
And I'll let you know when that comes on.
And we'll make sure we give out that information.
Absolutely.
But briefly, and we've talked a little bit about it, but tell us, let's start with Black and White Pizza, I guess, the basis of that film. These were both short films.
Right, we both short films. Both of them were about 10, 15 minutes. The basis behind Black and White Pizza was that I had actually gotten I guess basically a letter, an invitation from Ron Strobel announcing that he had moved into town, and in any event, when I got his business card, I sent him out an invitation and invited him to a screening of mine, a movie that you came out to see, A Matter of the Heart. And in any event, Ron didn't come out, but I called him back and I said, I'd like to meet with you. So he said, why don't you come on up and we'll screen your film. Well, there's a particular part in the film, Bill, that really just intrigued Ron, just blew his mind. When my character doesn't get a job, and he says, I didn't get this job as a result of racism. And Ron turned to me and he said, Kevin, do black people feel when they don't get a job it's a result of racism? I mean, that's extraordinary. And I said, Ron, we don't believe that. We know that to be a fact. So that's what kind of sparked this whole discussion between Ron and myself. And Ron said to me, he said, well, Kevin, I would be interested not necessarily doing a movie, but doing a documentary dealing with race relations, particularly from the African-American perspective. He said, because I'm very interested. And he said, I want to do a project that's going to bring people together and at least is going to deal with racism and let people know what's out there. So he asked me to do a proposal. I sent him back the proposal, and as a result, we decided to go ahead and do this black and white pizza. Mm-hmm. And I told Ron, I said, we need to have a African-American female in it. I said, because we have a black male, we have a white man, but I said, we need to really balance it out by having an African-American female. And so I called a good friend of mine and also an actress in my upcoming film, Opposite Attraction, Atia Abdul-Malik. It's a very strong black woman. And basically, Bill, what we did is we went to Ron's studio, and basically we just had an open and honest discussion. He basically just turned the camera on, and we just started discussing it. Mm-hmm. So it's an impromptu kind of discussion. It wasn't scripted or anything like that. It was honestly coming out of our out of our hearts, and that's basically what started the whole thing about barbershop, black and white pizza.
Now, Ron was the filmmaker. He was here
Right.
before,
Right.
white man.
Mm-hmm.
Digging a little bit, and stop me if I go too far
Right.
in digging. I sensed when Ron was here before and the discussion was taking place, and you were on the phone
Right.
the last time.
Right.
Not tension, but some misunderstandings perhaps, or some
Yes.
concern about how maybe he interpreted some
Right.
of your words, or how he had edited some of the things that
Correct.
were presented. I don't know what went on behind the scenes.
Right.
In doing a film like this,
Mhm.
was it difficult in dealing with different people's perspectives, different people's presentation, talking about such a touchy issue?
Mhm.
Did you find yourselves, and both of you can touch on this,
Mhm.
having to sit back and go, I don't believe they said that, or I don't believe they
Right.
think that, or
Right.
while the film evolved?
Yeah, I found that Ron had came into the shop, and Ron said to me, he says, look, Woody, I'm going to ask some questions. Please don't beat me up, but he was just saying, don't get excited to the point. These are questions that other people must understand.
Mhm.
So I'm here to kind of provoke you. I'm here to ask some questions that are going to really get you going. So Ron was looking for one type of a response, and I don't think he got the response that he was looking for. As he talked with me, there were ways that I guess how I dealt with answering his questions was from more of a positive perspective. I think he was looking for a reaction with some of the questions that he was asking. But I think that anything that you deal with in life can be dealt with from a positive perspective. If you understand what the concept of turning the other cheek means, it doesn't mean that you are a weakling if you turn the other cheek. It does mean that you are going to stop the fact that war will continue. You have to learn to use the weapon of peace, and that's what I got out of that. So as he was throwing things at me, I was using the weapon of peace, and in the process, a new type of film was presented, and Ron was shocked, and he looked at it on film, and everybody liked it, so he says, hey, I'm going to stick with this. But he was looking for more of a violent thing from the beginning.
It's an interesting point.
Weapon of peace, Kevin?
Right.
Did you take that same path?
No, I didn't. And maybe because I'm a little more confrontational than Brother Woody. I mean, I learned a lot from Brother Woody because he keeps me calm, And I guess because I'm kind of passionate. And the thing that sometimes bothers me with Ron is that even in the making of Black and White Pizza, the way, for example, he talked to Atia, he was saying that, I'm going to make you irritated, and I'm going to ask you these brutal questions. I mean, it was so patronizing. And I said to Ron, this is an adult black woman. She's a professional. I said, Ron, you're talking to her like she's some child. Even actually before we even turned on the cameras, it almost didn't get made, Bill, because Ron basically just wanted to go ahead, turn on the cameras, and didn't tell Atia really much of anything. And Atia said to Ron, he said, well, wait a minute. Before we do anything, I need to know what is this project about? What are we going to do? And Ron took the attitude like, well, I'm the filmmaker, and that's all you need to know. And so Atia said, well, you wouldn't tell your corporate clients that. Okay, you wouldn't tell CNN or ABC or whatever.
And a film was born. You should have turned the camera on right there and let it go.
You know what's funny, Bill? And this is really interesting. someone said to me, another filmmaker said, Kevin, actually, another film that could be born out of this is just a discussion between you and Ron Strobel. That would be a film in and of itself.
Well, I think that would be more of a fight. No, I'm just kidding. No, you guys get along very well. But what I like about it, Kevin, is that you're constantly asking questions, and this is what this whole concept is about. The ignorance between ourselves. We can be ignorant to some things, and when whites say, "You feel that way? I can't believe it," or somebody Asian could say, "Well, I can't believe you feel that way." And this is the whole concept of us putting together this type of dialogue, because we are ignorant in our differences. We need to find out more about one another. As a country, as a unit, we're considered Americans, and there's only one way we're going to go into the next millennium. We got to go there whole. We can't go there separated.
8:30 on the Keystone Connection, WHAT in Philadelphia, WCXJ in Pittsburgh. We're joined in studio by Mr. Kevin Sheaff and Mr. Robert Woodard, involved with films, Black and White Pizza, Barbershop Talk, The Aftermath, which will be the next panel discussion. Really focusing somewhat on race relations while we are here, and whether or not perhaps filmmaking is the best way or a way to address some of these problems. If you have questions or comments in both Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, of course you are entitled to jump in. 215-581-5186 in Philadelphia, 1-800-953-WCXJ in Pittsburgh. These films are coming out. Others are being made, and I'm going to be in one of them. And we'll let you know when all that's going to happen. Got a break right now and let you know about some of the important sponsors here on WHAT and WCXJ, and then we will come right back and continue on with the discussion. Stay tuned. Pittsburgh, we are joined in studio by filmmaker Kevin Sheaff. What are we calling you, Woody? Actor,
just
poet,
call me Woody,
communicator.
Woody from the barbershop, and you can call me a communicator. That's fine.
Communicator.
I like that.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
We were
that's
talking,
exactly what he is.
talking during the break, and a couple lines are open. If you'd like to jump in, feel free. Talking during the break about the next project, and there's other things I want to come back to, but Barbershop Talk 2, The Aftermath.
Right.
We're calling it right now, panel discussion.
Right.
What exactly do you expect to accomplish with that? You have a lot of different people, different perspectives.
Absolutely.
Coming together. People, if you look at them on paper, all the talk in the world, these people are not going to agree.
Exactly.
And I'm probably one of them. I mean, there's people on the panel who I'm not going to agree with, I think. What do you expect to come out of it?
Well, what I expect hopefully to come out of it, Bill, is like I said, an honest dialogue, and at least if we don't agree, we can at least we can at least hear each other's perspective, okay? And maybe there'll be something that'll come out in that discussion that, oh wow, I didn't know that, you know, I didn't know you felt that way, okay? And that's kind of what I'm hoping that will come out of it, okay? Because the interesting thing is that for many whites, they really don't understand as blacks what we go through, because they live in a completely different world, okay? And I think that was that, and I know that from you know, and different whites I've dealt with, and particularly with Ron Strobel, I think a lot of that came out of it, and I think a lot of this is going to come out of this panel discussion. I mean, we have Republican conservatives on the panel, we've got, you know, a militant on the panel. I mean, we've got all these different perspectives, and what I'm hoping is that there's a room for all these perspectives, and if we can at least agree, like you said, to disagree without being disagreeable, I think there's a message there.
Woody, and again, sitting there on that panel and participating, I know based on all the research you do, you're familiar with all the people, and we'll run down their names in just a minute.
Right.
How do you feel about sitting on that panel with these individuals?
Well, as I was discussing with Kevin, the importance of the barbershop from the very beginning is, again, a place where you do not have any rule or regulation structure. Your job, your position does not matter at that place. So you can truly let out of your heart what's there. I said to Kevin, Kevin, now when we set this up, I would like to see a Million Man March poster. I would like to see a Million Woman March poster. This is in the background of the setup. I would like to see a picture of the Promise Keeper poster. And also, on one wall, we will have the American flag. In this discussion, we're going to break down the concepts of these things. Millions of people got together in all of these groups for a reason. There's a purpose and a reason here. Everybody feels that it is something going on in the air. We don't know what it is, but in America, we could actually be an example for the rest of the globe. There's some of every cultural difference, and it's every race in our country. So if we ever learn how to deal with one another, this is the beginning of a whole new world.
8:39 on the Keystone Connection. Going to break real quick and get our Metro traffic update, and then we will come back and continue on with the discussion. And we're going to take a couple questions from the listening audience.
By the way, you know, I know Tiffany Bacon.
Hey, Tiffany.
Yes.
Kevin said he knows you.
You know me?
Yes, I do. Tiffany Bacon, how are you?
I'm fine.
Tiffany Bacon and I went to Temple University, and actually for a short time we worked in the same department of career services. How you doing, Tiff? Yeah.
Hi.
Tiffany, I'm gonna tell you something. I am really proud of you, sister. I mean, I've heard you on different radio programs, and now here you are doing the Metro Traffic Report, and I'm really proud of you. This is a hard-working sister, and you could tell even then that she was talented. So, to me, it's just expected.
Oh, thank you so much.
This
really
is your life.
I know. I'm all embarrassed now.
What's happening with traffic out there?
Oh, it's a mess. I
Continuing on with that discussion about the panel discussion. The people participating in the discussion, and we ran it down.
Right.
Did we run down on the air or did we run down on the break? We ran it
We
down
ran
off
down on the
air.
break, right.
So why don't you tell them, the people who have confirmed and are
Sure.
participating, and others who you are expecting or
Right.
extending invitations to.
Right. Well, we sent an invitation out to Lonnie Grenier. Dr. Khalil Abdul Muhammad is coming on the panel discussion. Brian Tierney from, I think it's Inside Edition, and Carol Celine from the Philadelphia Magazine, and also she's also on the Inside Edition. They're going to be part of the panel. We're going to have Atia Abdul-Malik, who was in Black and White Pizza. We have an Episcopalian priest that's coming on. And did I leave some other people out, Woody?
No, just me.
Okay.
And me.
And Robert Woodard.
So we got
and
left
Bill
there.
Anderson's go by.
Now this is, again, diverse group of people.
Right.
Some of the people may be familiar with them from TV. Some may be familiar from sound bites, familiar from any number of things. Everybody comfortable with working with everybody else?
I don't know whether they'll be comfortable. This is going to be a question mark for all of us. I know we were on one of the cable stations, and we did a show. There were one of the ladies at the cameras who said, I would love to be on that panel because I saw a barbershop talk. And Ron Strobel responded in more of a senior way, an older white person. I would like to have the perspective of some of the young people. I don't feel the way he felt about that issue. So I said, Kevin, maybe we better ask her to come. She's a young white female who's in the film production business, and she asked us. We didn't ask her, but that was something to think about. The age group there. She says, I can understand some of the older whites feeling that way, but me as a younger white person, I didn't agree with certain things, and I would like to give her. I'd like to give my perspective. So that was just a question mark. I don't know if you're going to have her or not, but to keep that in mind.
Yeah, actually, I am going to invite her out because I think that she did make an interesting point that her perspective was different than a Ron Strobel, who an older, middle-aged white man, as opposed to a young white female. And I thought it was very interesting that she raised that point.
Are their ages going to be represented down the line?
Within
reason.
Well, pretty much, Bill. Pretty much, Bill, within reason. I mean, Atia is a young black woman, and then she's also a professional, so we get that perspective. I mean, Carol Celine is a middle-aged white woman, so we get that perspective. Brian Tierney is a white conservative Republican.
Yes, he is.
Yes, and I can't wait to get Brian Tierney on the panel. So, and again, I mean, I think that's what we're trying to get, as many different segments in society on that panel, so that we really get a good cross-section.
Going to the phones to find out what's going on. The listening audience, Abdullah, thanks so much for waiting. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
Fine, thank you. And good morning, Woody.
Good morning. How are you, brother?
Fine, how are you?
Okay.
And I just wanted to say to Kevin, good morning,
Good morning, Brother Abdullah.
and also say that I'm okay.
A little inside joke, Bill, from Woody's Barbershop.
Yeah, but thanks, Kevin, for the help. But next time, I think Woody would. My question is, I heard you mention in passing that the barbershop talk will air on WHYY.
Yeah,
Yes.
sometime in the fall.
Okay. All right. So I didn't miss the date.
Right.
All right. Looking forward to seeing that again in full, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, brother.
Abdullah, we forgot about you. You are a very special person. I'm going to see if we can squeeze you in, Abdul, if you would be willing.
Okay. Woody, you know how to put a person on the spot. Don't
Well, I had to say it. I forgot
You
about
want to answer now?
We'll talk about it.
Okay, my brother.
Thanks.
All right.
Abdullah, you take care, and I thank you so much for your call. An unfortunate reality, I guess I wanted to question about, and not unfortunate that a lot of people have seen the Barbershop Talk and Black and White Pizza, but unfortunate, as I see it, that it took a film by a Ron Strobel or someone else to gain that level of exposure. And I know that you've done quite a few films.
Correct.
Reality is, and this isn't knocking you at all, obviously.
You're right.
The reality is that this is the one that's gotten the exposure, gotten the media play.
Exactly. The
Did it
newspaper
help?
articles and all
Sure.
that.
Is it something now, and you say that people are coming up to you saying, well, I want to participate.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it helping in that way that now you have created perhaps a media audience for your work as well?
Well, Bill, it has helped, and I think Woody would say that you want to take every situation and use it as a positive, and that's what I look at. It's a positive. You know, you do raise a very interesting point that, I mean, I have done 4 films up to the, Ron Strobel's things, and granted, there's more media exposure as a result of Ron Strobel being this white filmmaker and being dedicated supposedly to race relations, and yes, but you know, I look at it, Bill, that I see it as all part of a divine plan. You know, it was meant for me to meet Ron, okay, and as a result, what happens is, yes, Ron's name gets out there, but certainly my name gets out there as well. You know, Woody's name gets out there, and as a result, it put us in position now to do a barbershop talk in black and white. Now we do have an audience. One interesting thing, Bill, was that at the screening for Barbershop Talk and Black and White Pizza, many people in the audience said, you know, I like Barbershop Talk, but you know, I wish there was some discussion, you know, because when I go to Woody's, I mean, that's the thing that we all enjoy, is the interplay and the discussion that, you know, that bounces around. And so we knew that was the next project. We had to do that. You know, so it actually, Bill, it's a silver lining as I see it.
Yeah.
You want to jump in?
Oh, well, I just wanted to say that I really believe that we're being guided here. You know, like everything in life happens for a reason and a purpose, and it's somewhat beyond us. What we have to do is pay attention to what's going on and move forward.
849 on the Keystone Connection. Manuel, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning, Rob. Good morning, Woody, and good morning, Kevin.
What's up, brother?
How's everybody doing?
Okay,
All
my
right,
brother.
Manuel.
I'm gonna tell you what prompted me to call. What Woody said and what you said, Kevin, about Mr. Strobel not quite getting it.
Right.
I saw Bulworth over the weekend,
Mhm.
which is a movie that talks about social, political, economic themes between blacks and whites.
Right.
And I saw it in a predominantly white audience.
Mm-hmm.
After the movie, and I do this all the time, I kind of always like to pay attention to see what the audience is getting from a film. So when the movie was over, of course, when people are coming out, you start hearing the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like we saw 2 different films. They heard and saw one thing.
Right.
I heard and saw one thing, and most of the blacks in the audience. And just listening to the things they were saying further compounded the fact that in most cases, issues concerning us, they just don't get it. It's one of the reasons why television is the way it is now. Is as soon as they step in and put their hand on an issue or television format that we basically created, like New York Undercover, they change it around, and then it's not the same. It doesn't hold the same food for us. We ultimately, what I'm trying to say is, it is up to us to get more control over our message. Now, Kevin, I know how tough it is to be a filmmaker. We you know, I'm into acting and everything. You're a filmmaker. Jill. Walter with video and everything.
Absolutely.
It's very important that we stick together, all of us, much like Prince did in Minneapolis, and then everyone else came following him. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's very important that we keep communicating, that we all stay in touch, and that as one of us makes it, and it's either going to be you or Joe or somebody else we know, we got to pull the rest up, because that's what Hollywood is about. Hollywood is about clicks. If you notice, some of the same producers always use the same people. Scorsese, Warren Beatty used some of the same actors. Spike certainly uses the same people. So, and see, Kevin, I know your conviction, and I know you're one of those people that will do that.
Thank you, brother.
And that's one of the things I appreciate. And this, I guess the last thing I want to say is, as much as we all have to keep in touch with each other, we also have to allow each other to grow. Kevin, you're a creative person. And I think the most important thing to a creative people is that their message doesn't get misunderstood and interpreted. Right. It's not about the money with you.
Correct.
It's about...
Okay, let's try to...
And the right message is about the work getting out there. It's about good work. It's about being creative and your message not being misunderstood. Am I right?
That's
exactly right. And being responsible. You know, it's interesting you brought up Bulworth because, you know, I mean, I'll probably go see it, man, but it sort of reminds me of Ron because, see, one of the problems, I mean, I look at Barbershop Talk, and there's a thing that happens at the end of the movie, which I completely disagree with. You know, the interesting thing was that Woody's brother, both of his brothers were very, very upset. In fact, Woody's youngest brother, Nate, said to me, he said, Kev, I was going to bring our mother to the screening, but I can't bring my mother to the screening. You know, she may have a heart attack if she sees this.
Right.
And I'm saying, see, that's why I say as a filmmaker, you got to be at least responsible. That's what I'm saying, that, you know, a lot of these white filmmakers, they're not sensitive to those issues that are important to African Americans.
Well, Kevin, let me say this. I was greatly surprised. Warren Beatty got it.
Okay.
I'll check it out. See for yourself.
I will.
All right?
Thanks, brother.
You guys have a good day. I'll be in touch.
Okay,
Peace
take
out.
care now.
Man, you take care. 8:52 on the Keystone Connection. I guess you don't want to go deep into what it was that happened in the film and discuss it. I guess I saw it a little bit different than you did, or perhaps than Manuel did. In the film, and being as general as we can, I guess, in the film, after the Barbershop Talk film and documenting Woody's life and Woody's views on different things, it takes a spin at the end. Wild spin. A spin, to be perfectly honest with you, when I saw the film, I hadn't spoken with... Some harm comes to Woody, okay, in the film. And it's a documentary, so you're kind of looking at it from a true perspective. Spoken to Woody in quite some time, and we were sitting in my office watching the film, and I turned to Rob and said, what happened to Woody? You know, I didn't realize something had happened. And then when I realized that it hadn't, and it was just for effect and what have you, at that point I didn't understand it. You know, to be honest with you, I wasn't angry about it. I didn't think it was a racial kind of thing where this person just doesn't get it. I just didn't understand what purpose it served in the movie. Now, on that vein, I guess, you know, and get some feedback from you, was it just to try and get people's attention? And my interpretation was you're 3/4 of the way through the movie if you don't have their attention now.
Well, if you recall, Bill, in the beginning, Ron was looking for something totally different than what he got. What he got there was something that he did not look for. So again, something was born, again, about being guided, about things happening, everything having a reason and a purpose. I could sit and discuss and fuss about what happened at the end of the film. Yes, it wasn't pleasant. However, in the long run of this thing, he's showing, again, another perspective. A lot of times perspectives are not things that we like to hear from different cultural groups. But that's what this whole thing is all about. It gets ugly sometimes. So we need to really break these things down so that we can get to know one another from the perspective of human being. Now, why did he do that? A lot of the blacks had said to me, man, why did he do this or that or the other? But I don't want to come out with what it is until the people see it. But however, we did respond totally different. And that's why a dialogue like this, a barbershop talk, is something that is extremely important, because we do see things totally out of different eyes.
Well, and if it's supposed to generate discussion, it did.
Yeah, it generated discussion.
It certainly did.
I don't know if I'm going to have time, but I wrote a poem called Out of the Eyes of a Black Man as a result of this film, thinking about things from that concept of my view and how I see it. And I let a whole bunch of black men read this, and all of them agreed. So if I get an opportunity to read that, I'd like to do that for the audience as well.
We'll get to it in just a moment.
All right.
Tasha in West Philadelphia on the car phone. We're coming back to you in just one moment. I just asked for your patience. Going to take calls for our guests at 215-581-5186. Pittsburgh, you can get involved as well at 1-800-953-WCXJ. Perhaps we'll try to figure out a way that we can get a screening coming to Pittsburgh so you can check out the films as well. We'll be right back.
Yes, ma'am. There's many women that are in the barbershop, and believe it, we get feedback from women continually, and without the female, I mean, like, where would we be overall? So we're continually getting feedback from the female. We just were dealing with the issue, and when we say barbershop talk, that doesn't eliminate women.
Exactly.
Barbershop talk does deal with women as well.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay?
Thanks, Tasha.
Thank you so much for your call. 905 on the Keystone Connection. We've agreed to go a little bit over and get to the callers who are on hold, and we're going to allow Woody to read the poem in just a little bit, so we'll continue on. Have you had any discussion, and I know this is always a struggle as long as I've known you, Kevin, with distribution, with getting people to sign on to actually get the films out there once they're made? Have you had discussion with people who maybe saw the concept in Black and White Pizza and Barbershop Talk and are willing to sign on to this next project that you're involved with?
Well, Bill, in terms of Black and White Pizza and Barbershop Talk, in terms of distribution, I'm really not involved in that because it's actually Ron Strobel's piece. He's the author of it. I do know that Ron Strobel was out in California, and I believe that when he was out there, that's what he was looking for, was some distributors. You know, he's going to have a lot easier time because he's a white man, and he's doing something that is unique as a white man. You know, I mean, here's a white guy living in Malvern, and he's done 2 pieces now dealing with black, you know, dealing with African Americans, and he's getting ready to do a 3rd piece about a black bouncer. So he, you know, he doesn't really say much to me, but I would assume when he was out there in California, he was out there looking for some kind of distributors and things like that. And he used to live out in California, so I know he has some connections out there.
Do you think that again, in looking for the silver lining or the positive, will that help you in that people are going to be looking for that follow-up or that expansion of what was started? And, you know, Woody's in it as well, as Barbershop Talk.
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. I mean, I think that's the blessing in all this, is that whatever distribution deal or whatever Ron does to get the film seen nationally, it only helps me because, one, I'm in Black and White Pizza. You know, I was a co-interviewer in it, and I mean, you know, my handprints is very much in it. Funny thing, Bill, was that when we had the screening at the International House, a lot of people in the audience thought I did the movie. And I had to keep telling them, no, I was just in it, you know. So, I mean, I think that, and I think the same thing with Barbershop Talk. I think that it's only going to benefit all of us, really, you know. So that's my feeling. What do you think, Wood?
Yeah, I think that it's going to benefit everybody. And to me, this whole concept, again, back to the barbershop, when you're at the barbershop, you may need your different things. You may need a dentist or a doctor or maybe a painter to paint your house. In most cases, there's somebody there that can either steer you or either does the job. So this is a form of fellowship. This is what I'm trying to get out of this concept of barbershop, to take it outside of the doors of just my barbershop, but to have this type of dialogue amongst people, from good people that want to communicate with one another, regardless of, again, their race or their creed or their colors. People are people are people. If you can help me, do that, please. If I can help you, I will do that. You see? So the concept of help does not eliminate itself because of your race. You can get help from anybody.
908, going back to the phones. Pamela in West Oak Lane, thank you for your patience and good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
Okay. I wanted to know if you're interested in acting, do you get a portfolio, or what? Are you auditioned, or what's the steps that you would take if you wanted to go into film?
If you want to be an actress, I think one thing you need to do is to get yourself a headshot. Okay. Also, it doesn't hurt to perhaps take a couple of acting classes. It's a lot of community groups. You know, of course, there's Freedom Theater. That's kind of expensive, but it depends on if this is something you really want to do. I would definitely go and get some acting classes and then get like a headshot, and put together sort of a resume. I don't know if have you ever done any acting before, or is this something that you're interested in?
I have, but
okay,
nothing recent.
Okay. The first thing that a lot of casting agents want is a headshot, or other filmmakers would like, that's the first thing they want to get from an actress is a headshot. But I think that the more, I really encourage you, have you taken any kind of acting classes?
No.
Okay. Really would encourage you to do that, because the more you sharpen that, the more you learn. There's a lot of, people think that acting is easy. Oh, okay, I just go up there and just do anything. But there's a technique to it. There's a way you move your body, the way you enunciate your words, and it's a process. Okay. Right. I don't necessarily believe that everyone has to go to some kind of acting school. Some people just have a natural talent, but I think it never hurts just to, if you're really interested, if you really want to do it, to get a little bit of acting, take a couple of acting courses.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked that, Pamela, because he didn't tell Woody and I that. He just threw us in front of the camera and said, now act.
Yeah, now do your thing.
Okay, see you.
Okay, you have a good
All
one.
right, fair.
We'll get you out there. Good time, I guess, and we're coming right back to Bernard in South Philadelphia in just a moment. talking about just acting and getting your foot in the door and
Right.
getting involved, you are filming a music video.
Yes.
The 30th, which would
Correct.
be a week. No, it's this coming Saturday.
Yeah, this Saturday.
The 30th at 52nd and Warren. At 7 o'clock. Kevin, why is everything at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Well, Bill, we rise up with the birds and the squirrels, man. You know.
Okay. Yes, you do. On Saturday, I don't rise up with any birds or squirrels, but I will.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Bill. You know, actually, there's because of the logistics, we have to actually be on the set that early. Actually, I'm going to be on the set at 5:30 a.m. and that's simply because the city of Philadelphia is going to actually block the street off. But this music video, what's interesting is that people think that, okay, it's a 3-minute, 4-minute video. It's not that much involved. You just turn the cameras on. People don't realize that it's a whole process. You got to set the lights up. You got to make sure your camera's set up. The music video, Bill, is called Jesus is Worth Talking About. And I was approached, Bill, by a deacon from a church in New Jersey. And he said to me, he said, Kev, I saw Barbershop Talk Black and White Pizza, going back to something you said, so those films have only helped me. And he said, you are just the person that I need to direct this. And what was interesting is that he didn't go to nobody else, but he came to me. And the music video it's a gospel music video, and it talks about the fact that Jesus is worth talking about. And the music video opens up with this panoramic shot in the street, and there's this drug deal that takes place, and the drug deal goes bad. There's a fight that breaks out, and just as someone gets ready to pull a gun out, a hand reaches through the light, grabs the person's hand, and then this light drops down, and out of the light steps this choir group called Sounds of Praise, and they begin singing the title song, Jesus is Worth Talking About. So as they're singing, they're walking down the street, and they're ministering through song to the people. And as they're walking by each resident, all the residents begin to change their behavior. And eventually what happens is that they literally purify the block. We have everyone dressed in white, symbolizing this kind of purity. And I was really intrigued with that idea, and I said, this is something that I always wanted to do, was a music video.
And we're going to play it when we end up or wrap up this segment or portions of it. You're not looking for any additional extras. You have everybody you need.
No, actually, we are looking for some extras. If anyone who is interested, you could certainly come out 52nd and Warren Street. That's in West Philadelphia, between 52nd and Lancaster, 52nd and Media, Saturday the 30th, 7 a.m. Okay, you have to be on the set at 7 a.m. We are looking for as many extras as we can get. It's going to be a huge music video. This is actually, Bill, the largest project I've ever done. It's really interesting because it started out kind of small, and then it's amazing to see how this thing has mushroomed. So again, May 30th, Saturday, 7 a.m., 52nd and Warren. Just come dressed casual, okay? And if you come out, you will be part of the music video. You will be seen.
So this could be your big break, Pamela
That's right.
in West Oak Lane. Bernard in South Philadelphia, good morning. Thanks for waiting.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
All right, how are you?
Okay, good morning to you guests.
Good morning.
Morning, Brother Bernie.
Yes, sir.
Good morning,
I would
my
say
brother.
Good morning to my own sibling, my brother Woody.
Bernie
brother,
got a
my brother.
Got a little
Yes.
cameo in the film, too.
Yeah, that's right.
You got a
Yes.
shining moment.
I think I really thank my brother and Kevin for their effort, man, because they're always in the business of trying to provide hope for a situation that seems to be decaying, in reference to black-white relationships and how it relates to, change actually being made. Is always you need hope. You need hope, Bill, and you guys. But I always get into it with my brother that we want change, black people. But we are the downtrodden. We're the oppressed and the depressed. We want to see a different. We want to make some sort of change out of this whole thing. But it's not going to change because white folks who are in charge, the supremacists, the ones who are push this racist thing, they don't want no change. So they want to remain in the leadership role. They want to remain in the condition that they're in the situation they're in. They are in charge on this side of heaven anyway. You know what I mean? So they're not going to put a strong effort. I'd be surprised if all those white folks that Kevin invited to the panel, I'd be surprised if they showed up. You know what I mean? Because change is going to have to be made within us first. You can't come in my house and tell me how to run my house if yours is not in order. See, black folks got to straighten up their situation. They got to make a difference we got to make a difference in our own community, Bill. It's not going to change till we make a difference in our community. And then other cultures and racial groups and ethnic groups will want to come and fellowship and commune with us if we make a change. But I tell you, I always tell my brother, and he tells me, we say the same thing, but I think we're coming from different levels, because I say that this is a spiritual thing. This is spiritual warfare we dealing with here. And it's above man. It's a satanic thing that's going on here with white supremacy. See, white supremacy, as it relates to greatness as far as they're concerned, greatness has a relationship with providing some sort of servitude. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, see what and this is my perspective, not theirs, and I just jump in with mine, and then all three can interact and finish your point. I think that one thing that I try to do on this program is acknowledge the fact that you can work towards a goal with several different ways. You know, and you can sit there and recognize that our house has to be in order before we can go out and interact in somebody else's house. And while working towards that goal, you can still start to come to some level of understanding or experience or conclusions working with several different groups. You have lots of tools, so why limit yourself to one of them and work with all of those tools, ultimately working towards that same goal?
Yeah, Bill. But listen, you ever been around someone who had a certain halitosis with breath condition, or
Sure.
somebody who had a stench about them, a person who was a vagabond, or somebody that was a street person? They have an odor about them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the condition that our community's in. There's a stench in our community as it relates to drugs and poverty and situations like that. Now, when we change that situation, when that changes, then we won't even have to go try to deal with relationships with other races and what have you. They'll want to come to us. See, they're not coming to us now.
See, and again, I'm going to shut up and let you all finish on. That's a good perspective, and maybe that's what will come out of furthering the discussion. I think you'll get from different people that even acknowledging the same goal, people have different ways of reaching it.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with the fact that we have to get our thing together. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We have to get our thing together. This concept of race relations doesn't stop at black people, though. We are dealing with the issue of everybody in the world. We don't live on the planet by ourselves. We, and I agree with my brother, having to do with getting ourselves together. But each race should try to get themselves together. We're doing our small part with barbershop talk pertaining to an issue of ignorance. All of us in this world are ignorant to something that has to do with another cultural group. Mm-hmm. And that's what barbershop talk is about, to try to bring together the ignorance so that we can educate ourselves about ourselves as people.
See, we're extending an invitation to other ethnic groups to come in and commune and try to settle the differences that we have. Kevin's doing that video, and I'm glad he said that, because I was going to say this, but now that opened the door for me to say this. He said Jesus is worth talking about. That's
Right.
the video that they're doing.
Correct.
Jesus is the avenue that man has to deal in communicating with God. We might not really want to accept it. We might not really want to realize it. But as long as we void that and say that, no, there's another way, well, we can try this way and some others can try that way, until we come together and go to God through Jesus Christ with this problem, it's not going to change. I'm telling you, spiritual warfare is the devil that's making one person think that he's better than somebody else, and another person suffering as a result of that supremacy. It's the devil, man, and you can't deal with that devil on your own. And God ain't going to help you deal with it unless you come the way he wants you to come, which is through Jesus Christ.
That's true,
Yeah,
Bernie. But
and
let's
we're
remember,
working on
God
it.
works through people, you know, and God wants us to work together. And so I believe that it has to be a two-pronged approach. One, we have to deal with the things in our own community, but at the same time, we cannot let white folks off the hook. So it has to be a two-pronged approach.
You know, one way I look at it, and Bernie, I thank you so much for your call. I look forward to speaking with you very soon. I recognize some of the things he's saying, but I guess a good example, maybe a parallel. I was recently invited, and because of some other traveling problems I had, I was unable to go, or I am unable to go. There is the Jewish something or other. It's either the Jewish Association of Friends, and I can't remember exactly off the top of my head who it was. And they extended an invitation to me, as well as several other members of minority media, for lack of a better way of saying it, Hispanic, African American,
Right.
Asian, across the board, to travel essentially at their expense to Israel. Now, it was the kind of situation where some people would come from the perspective as, well, why do that? We have our own things to interact with, and we have. I was very, very interested in going, and I'm very upset that it turned out that I couldn't go.
Right.
And also, we'll be interviewing them and applauding them for doing that small part of trying to minimize ignorance.
Yes.
It was not an issue of taking us on a trip. You know, I'd like to think intelligent people. They're taking on a trip to say, we're good, you're bad.
Right.
That wasn't the concept of it. It was, you know what, you don't fully understand what's going on in Israel or with our culture, as we fully don't understand what's going on with you and yours.
Right.
Bring these groups together to at least see and experience it.
Exactly.
And there's some people who are critical of that. I think it's a very, very positive thing to do. Having traveled a little bit, understanding just how ignorant we are to other cultures, to our own culture, having been to Africa and getting there and understanding just how little information we, and in this scope, we as black, white, whomever, how little information we actually have to shape our opinions. And that's why I applaud your efforts and their efforts and everyone's little effort to try and provide information. And I don't think information can ever be a negative thing.
No.
Yeah, we're living, Bill, and what you just said, each day our world gets smaller. The earth itself shrinks, not physically, but because of our ability with technology to communicate with each other around this globe, it is getting smaller. So whether we want to face it or not, we're neighbors on a planet. It's a dot in space and a vastness of many other planets and stars around us that we can't even imagine. We are people. We are human. We have to learn to live together. Yes, we are individuals. Yes, we have different cultural groups, but there is only one God. Call him the name you would like, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Allah, or whoever you decide to call him. There is only one. And guess what? He created each and every one of us.
Gonna get a couple more quick, and then we're gonna have to start to wrap things up as I'm running short on time now. We're going to Ed in Pittsburgh. Thanks so much for waiting, and good morning.
Good morning to you, your guests, and your listeners throughout the state of Pennsylvania. My comments are pretty much along the same lines as the previous caller, with one exception. I'll let what he says stand for me with respect to how white people are. But what we need to do is have a response beyond dialogue. Recently, I read in the paper where... Am I coming along real loud? Oh, okay. Hello?
Hello, we got you.
Okay. Recently, I read in the paper where Asians in this country have a median income of $49,000. Whites have a median income of $47,000. In other words, Asians have the highest level of income in this country, and blacks and Hispanics had median incomes somewhere around the $26,000 range. Now, what I'm getting at is that we need to change our culture here in America, that is African Americans, to learn how to raise capital among ourselves. For example, there in Philadelphia, you have 600,000 black people. And if each person put $10 a month in a common pot, we'll call it, or account, that would be $6 million a month, or $72 million a year. And with that $72 million, I think you folks could do a whole lot of things. You can't do everything, but you could do a lot of things with that kind of money. Here in Pittsburgh, we have 90,000 black folks. That would be $900,000 a month, or $10,800,000 a year. Again, we could do something with that. And that way, it wouldn't really matter what white people or anyone else thought of us. I don't think you're going to find a movie where Asian Americans are sitting around having a dialogue with anyone, because they don't need to. And we don't need to either, although it's certainly, I agree with you, the more understanding you can develop among all kinds of people, the better off we're all going to be. So I applaud what you're doing, but I think beyond that we have to start changing our culture to raise capital, to be investors more than we are consumers.
It's an excellent point. Just one thing I want to add, and then let both of you respond to that, and that is that the Asian community was outraged that they were not included in President Clinton's panel on race relations, and are included in President Clinton's panel on race relations, and actually are sitting down at the table. And just about any time you hear of a racial discussion, it doesn't include the Asian community or Latino community, their leaders are outraged and want to be brought to the table. So I think they are coming to the table for discussion and fighting. Because fighting for equality. I don't mean fighting.
Yeah. Bill, I just want to respond to the caller to say that, no, we're not basically sitting around just talking and then we're not going to do anything about it. I mean, I think the fact that we're doing the documentary on race relations, here's what happens. Yes, it's a panel discussion, and yes, we're discussing, but at the same time, I've been able to employ young African Americans that I'm using as production interns on the set. Okay? I'm using an African American sound person. So my assistant director is African American. So, you know, as a result of doing this, I've been able to, beyond just talk, do some demonstrated action as a way, as my own little way to help our community. And I think that Woody certainly has helped many, many young black men and women, has been doing this way before I was born. So we're not about just sitting around talking.
Well, I appreciate that, Kev. We all, again, have a job, and our job is to find out what kind of tool we are as human beings. God placed us here for a purpose. Your purpose, I watch you in your filming, and again, I'm very proud of what you're doing with the filming. My writing of poetry is just a gathering of many of the things that I've learned through the years from people I've drawn energy from. One of the things I write in my poetry is positive energy is a negative energy deterrent. Energy is energy is energy. Where we direct it is up to us. Yes, energy never ceases to go on. It's continual. It never stops. So therefore, we have to try to direct ourselves in everything that we're doing. And all the callers that called in, I can feel their passion and I understand their pain because, believe it, racism is something that is not an easy thing to swallow. And we have taken the blunt of it in this country. There's no if, and, or but about it. However, with the perspective of barbershop talk and where we're coming from with that, has to do with ignorance. A lot of things occur when you're ignorant about issues. You can walk up to someone and that person cusses you out, yet that person didn't understand what you were talking about or the perspective in which you were coming from. You punched that person out. Now we got war going on. We have to break down the walls of ignorance in our world. And I think we got an opportunity and a chance here in this country to do it because of all of the many cultures. Every culture lives here. Let's try to do something.
927 on the Keystone Connection. I'm going to have to break and let you know about some of our sponsors. Coming back to Bob in Frankfurt, and then we're going to really have to start to wrap things up. We'll get to as many calls as I can before the end of the program, but Bob looks like there's probably going to be the last call for our guests, and then we will wrap things up. Something for everyone on the Keystone Connection. WHAT in Philadelphia, WCXJ in Pittsburgh, joined in studio by filmmaker Kevin Sheaff, communicator Robert Woodard. We'll be right back in just one moment.
You rarely raise your voice above a lilt. Manners are a must. However, the mere